Hi, I'm Mohammed. The purpose of this presentation is to clarify how Gopher Medical's information security policies address the information security regulations and standards that apply to our organization. The following are the information security policies that we have drafted to address the information security regulations and standards that apply to Gopher Medical. The Computer and Data Systems Change Management Policy, which was written by Paul. The Computer and Data Systems Access Policy, which was written by Austin. The Computer and Data Systems Backup and Recovery Policy, which was written by Jason. And the Computer and Data Systems Data Classification Policy, which was written by Brian. Because we are a healthcare organization, we must be in compliance with the HIPAA regulation and PCI DSS standard. Our policies will help ensure that Gopher Medical is in compliance with all applicable information security regulations. This presentation will provide an overview of how each of Gopher Medical's information security policies address the regulations and standards that apply to our organization.
The purpose of the change management policy is to create a policy framework for all changes within Gopher Medical. This policy is in place to minimize risk of data loss or corruption, especially data as it relates to personal data covered by PCI and HIPAA policies. Changes are related to all aspects of the environment, physical, virtual, and software. The purpose of the policy is to ensure that all changes are tracked, reviewed, and prioritized. Conflicts are identified, stakeholders notified, and that all changes satisfy audit requirements. Anyone making changes to Gopher Medical environments must follow the change management process. Environments such as test and prod must have separation, and IT roles must be segregated. The Change Advisory Board is responsible for all approvals and annually reviews and makes updates to the change management policy. We want to define important facets of the change management policy. We want to detail what a change item is and what the IST infrastructure includes. Lastly, we want to define the difference between a standard change and an emergency change. The policy states that all users must adhere to the policy, and we want to clarify that all changes must have a change record and that all changes should be done in a lower environment when possible. The policy qualifies what information is required for a change, what modifications to the change record require a new approval, and that all items involved in the change must have separate change requests unless the change is a blanket type change, such as operating system patches. We also want to specify how much lead time is needed for a change and how long of a change window can be used. In the event of an unsuccessful change, what the backup plan is. All changes must be approved prior to execution. In the event that a change is needed and we cannot adhere to standard policies, we also define the process for an emergency change.
The access policy is in place for the protection of how users access Gopher Medical IT systems and application that is critical to the security and integrity. The access policy is the set of rules applied by the IT department on a network that restricts the ways in which the system may be used. And the three main criteria in the access policy are requesting, approving access additions, and changes and removal. Requesting is asking to be allowed into the network in order to use their resources. This is similar to the U of M's policy for accessing specific IT hardware, such as MATLAB, without paying. Some examples of requesting access are requesting for the type of user account or requesting a special user account like a vendor that needs to access Gopher Medical systems. Approving access is the IT admin or anyone that is allowed to give access grant permission for a user to use Gopher Medical systems. Some examples of approving access would be approval of access to passwords, access to healthcare systems, access to any discontinued healthcare accounts, such as patients that may have passed away, and access to special permissions such as security changes or performance changes. Changes and removal is changes to the system, user accounts, or anything related to the network that could have potential vulnerabilities and or need to be changed or removed. Examples of these are changes to healthcare systems, account information, shared account access, removal of vendor accounts, or removal of any account information. The access policy was seen in class through the acceptable use policy that has a set of rules for a network and restricts it in some way. For the U of M, specifically in Module 6, they had their policy statement here and the purpose of their policy, which is to safeguard the integrity of computers, networks, and data.
In any business, data accessibility and integrity are crucial to the efficiency of operation, with integrity in this context referring to the completeness and quality of the data stored in our systems. So the purpose of this policy is to ensure these qualities and outline backup and recovery procedures. The Information Services team is charged with administering and revising this policy, as well as developing its procedures. In order to guarantee these qualities in our data, there are a couple things we must do. First, we must store our data in backups, copies of data stored separately from our main systems. This applies to all employees, with full backups required weekly and incremental backups daily. Second, in the event of compromised data, whether that be from a systems failure, breach, or other cause, we must be able to quickly restore the accessibility and integrity of our data.
The data classification policy for Gopher Medical will be used to provide guidelines on how we handle various types of data within the organization, as well as applying proper classification levels to the various types of data we manage. This data includes electronically stored information as well as non-electronic information such as paper files and hard copy data. This information will be categorized within classifications such as public, private, and confidential, along with subcategories detailing specific criteria for handling each data type. Stakeholder groups required to follow this policy include all employees, medical staff, volunteers, and anyone who has authorized access to any data we hold within the organization. Rules and regulations applied to this policy include HIPAA Privacy Rule, the HITECH Act, and PCI objectives. To detail the purpose of this policy, we first want to assign and define data classification levels given to the different types of data we manage at Gopher Medical. We want to identify proper security controls for handling each data type and promote awareness and training within the organization on how we manage data. This also helps maintain compliance with HIPAA and PCI DSS regulations. We want to include what is considered protected health information and personally identifiable information. Protected health information specifically refers to medical information we have about individuals we have created or disclosed while providing healthcare services. Personally identifiable information covers any information that can identify an individual, such as personal contact information or financial information. We also want to detail electronically stored information and define this as information that we have access to via digital means requiring computing hardware and software for access.
And that concludes our Gopher Medical policy presentation. Thank you.